So good afternoon. I'm Connie Kasri. I'm a professor at UCLA, and I'm here today with Beth Donati, who is a master special education teacher who also works with us at UCLA. And today we want to share resources for parents and teachers for the transition back to school during COVID-19. This work is supported by the Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA, of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And the resources that we're going to present today are the result of our Autism Intervention Research Network on Behavioral Health, the AIR-B network, and it's our work group. So we are a partnership of academic and community partners aimed at increasing equity and access to effective interventions for children with ASD. Nationally, we have several universities involved. So UCLA, University of Rochester, UC Davis, Drexel, Penn, University of Kansas, and University of Washington. And then locally, we have several community partners. So we have Healthy African American Families and other community nonprofit organizations, Spectrum of Hope and Propel I-Forward. We also have parent groups, Fiesta Educativa, and we have regional centers, West Side and South Central. And importantly, we're also partnering with Los Angeles Unified School District. So COVID-19 has really drastically changed education. Distance learning is hard for everyone involved: kids, parents, and schools. Our community and our university partners have identified several issues that families are facing every day. Some families don't have Wi-Fi. Parents need help managing children's behaviors at home. Some children have a lot of difficulties with the changes that this has created and following safety guidelines like wearing a mask. Teachers are having a hard time reaching some children. And those with IEPs, individualized education programs, are experiencing service disruptions. So it's stressful. To help with these issues, our group created a resource handbook. And in this webinar, we're going to briefly introduce its contents. Our goal is to provide tangible resources that families and children and teachers can utilize right away. So you can download this handbook from our website, airbnetwork.org. It's available in English and Korean and Spanish, and it's free. We're going to also be partnering with community agencies to distribute hard copies for families without internet access. So here's the table of contents. You can preview the topics we have in this handbook, and the handbook is already up on our website, so you can follow along if you want. We're going to go over these briefly now. So what do we do now? Well, the first step is to make sure that you have internet access. This is no longer a privilege, this is a right. You need to have access in order for your child to be able to engage in schooling. A lot of support is provided by most school districts, including laptops and tablets and hotspots. So in addition to that, you can ask for workbooks or offline activities, worksheets, special pencils, paper. You can coordinate the drop-off to your home or to pick up, depending on your school. LAUSD has also provided this nice list of technology resources that can be very helpful for families. Different companies have different offers and programs, such as free or discounted internet devices and so on. And you can find the information in the links provided. For your child's education today, it's extremely important to secure access to the internet and devices. So be sure to ask for help from your child's school, community agencies, and companies. So now we're going to talk about children's academic, behavioral, and service needs. We have some very specific tools that can help you with each of these. So I'm just going to highlight some of these areas, and then Beth will talk in more detail about the specific tools. So in terms of academic needs, it's important to ask teachers to provide recommendations to support your child's learning. And if remote group instruction is not successful for your child, you can request one-on-one remote individualized instruction for your child. Be sure to keep a journal or record your observations of your child's learning progress and overall experience. In terms of behavioral needs, it may help you to create a personalized visual schedule of daily routines and activities. It's also important to reduce some of the screen time that children are now engaging in. So importantly, you can spend time playing games or puzzles or crafts or hands-on activities. And some ideas for this can also be provided by your school. Communicate directly with your child's behavioral therapists and teachers so that you have access to this information. It's also important to keep track of service needs. So if your child is receiving speech and ABA therapies, you can ask for those to be delivered remotely. You can ask for mental health counseling and social skills sessions. And you can ask for support to deal with technical difficulties. Remember, if the group delivery is not working for your child, ask for one-on-one individualized service. It might also be helpful to have video examples from your OT or your PT so that you can practice activities with your child at home. Understand your IEP while you're engaged in distance learning. You can exercise in writing your right to stay put if you're not ready for an IEP meeting. That means that everything will stay exactly the same in terms of placement. You can request a hard copy of the IEP to be mailed to your home, translated in your preferred language. And it's important to track the difference in learning hours received versus those that might be identified on the IEP. Again, keep a record. In terms of future IEP needs, we list some things that you can request in getting ready for updating your child's IEP. You could ask for a new evaluation from the district or an independent evaluation to find out really how your child is doing. You can check your current IEP, which goals are being met, what does the progress report say? And then after you've completed a new evaluation, you might want to schedule an IEP meeting. And again, keep written records. Prepare your child. So this is our new normal. So it's important to talk to your child. What works? What's hard? What makes your child anxious? What are they worried about? What should we expect in going back to school? Your child needs to know what the new normal of in-class learning will look like. So we have some tools that will help you, and Beth will review those. It's also important to prepare yourself for this new normal. Congratulate yourself on all the work you've already done. It's an opportunity for some of you to grow with this new normal and learn some new technology skills. We're all learning them, and to focus on your child's learning needs. Ask for services based on how your child is doing today. So you can do this during upcoming IEP meetings, and you can ask about how to judge your child's progress from your school personnel. Okay, so the main takeaways is to keep things in perspective. It's okay to not be perfect. It's really important that we prioritize physical and mental health and worry about skills, academic progress next. It's important to continue to communicate with teachers and providers. And again, keep written records of all observations and communications. So now Beth, I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and she's going to go through some practical strategies and tools that we have in this handbook.
So earlier, we emphasized the need to take good notes on your child's progress. You can use this next tracking sheet we'll have on the next page, Connie.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. To organize your notes about your child's behavior, service, and needs. This can be helpful for you as the parent, but also for your child's teachers and the IEP team because it will give them concrete information about how your child is doing. Rather than just telling your child's team that you're not happy with services, you can document which services, what happened on which day, how many hours your child was supposed to receive versus what actually happened, and why this might have been. Summarize those details in this sheet and use it as you prepare for your next meetings with your teachers. Remember to remain respectful, good relationships with your child's teachers and therapists. They are here to help your child. The purpose of this tracking sheet is to help you accurately document what your child needs and inform you for your child's IEP team so that you can collaboratively come up with solutions together. Next, we have this snapshot, which is a summary of important information about a student for their new school team. This can include information about the student's strengths, interests, as well as supports and strategies that work well for them. The parent and the current teacher or school personnel that knows a student can fill out this form together. You can then share the form electronically or physically give them a copy to the new team. Here we have an example of a filled out student snapshot. It shows your child's general information, current supports, services, and team members. You can also fill out strengths, interests, reinforcers, and communication styles or learning strategies that are helpful for your child. Over on the right side, we have specific behaviors that you can fill out for your child's teachers. And in this last part, you can provide specific input about your goals and your concerns that you would like to share with the child's team. We've also included this back to school tips form, which has simple steps to help your interactions with your child stay positive. The goal is to make things clear and consistent so that you can help your child establish a routine much like they would at school. Visuals are a helpful tool to structure the day and set expectations. This could include a social narrative, which we'll talk about more on the next slide, or a visual schedule, which we have here at the bottom of the page.
Sorry.
So in this visual schedule, we have, if you go back, Connie, we have first, the child might go to school and do their school online, and then after they've done their schoolwork, they get to play outside. Another tool could be a visual timer where you set a stopwatch on your phone or a sand timer if you have one to show the child how long they'll be participating in activity. Now on this next slide, we have an example of a visual you could use for a safety guideline. There are a lot of new rules and new social norms right now. So this clear visual you could post up on your refrigerator or by the door to help your child remember what they need to do. So what is a social narrative? This is a story with pictures, and it's related to a theme that your child has experienced or maybe will experience in the future. It could be about wearing a mask, doing school at home, or going to a new classroom when school resumes. This can help your child learn about something so that they can feel more prepared and calm when it happens. When you use it, read the story together and use short phrases that match your child's language. Give your child time to look at the pictures, to point out what they see, and to ask you questions. This can be a fun activity that you do together. You can make your own versions of these at home. You can use pictures of your own child so that they can see themselves in the story, and you can use just short words with them, or you could use longer sentences depending on the needs of your child. In our handbook, we've included some examples of social narratives that you could use. We have one from the Indiana Resource Center for Autism about why you can't go to school, one from Autism Little Learners about going back to school, and one by Autism Society called I Need a Test for COVID-19 about the process for getting a COVID test. For more topics, you can check out their websites and for additional resources. And finally, we've included resources to help you and your child stay focused and calm during this time. This can be harder than it sounds. Some strategies for staying focused on the computer could be using an app to block off websites that might be distracting, to create a clear space for school and for work, or to stick to a routine and give yourself breaks. We've also added some information on trying meditation. This could be as simple as taking a few breaths by yourself or with your child. A fun one that we often do in schools is smell the flower, blow the candle, just as a reminder to come back to your breath during this wild time. We've added some additional resources that you can access through our site and through our partners.
Let's see, there I am. This has been a very quick review, but all of this information is available on the website, airbnetwork.org. And just, a reminder that this time is unprecedented in our history. It's created a lot of changes in children's experiences at school and your experience at home. Most of us weren't ready to be teachers and to homeschool our children, so it's a very big change. This kind of transition is hard for all of us. It's particularly hard for our children. But by informing children and using the tools and supports that we've listed in our handbook and others that you can find in our associated resources, children can know what to expect and be successful in their new environment. So thank you. We hope that this has been informative for you. We want to thank our work group generally, especially to Catherine Figueroa, who was our graphic designer. We have a Korean version of this webinar tomorrow by Sue Lee and Tom Chun. And on Thursday, we'll have a Spanish version by Consuelo Garcia and Brenda Martinez. So we hope that you will join us again. And we would really appreciate your feedback on whether this information was useful, and also whether you have comments or feedback for us about future topics that you might want to learn about. So thank you very much. We can now take a few questions. So let me see if you have questions, you can write them in the Q&A. And let's see. So we'll wait a couple of minutes. If someone has a question, we are happy to answer it. One place that we may be able to distribute handbooks, hard copies, will be at the Grab and Goes through LAUSD, and we're looking to arrange that. There may be other community agencies that would request hard copies for those who can't download the information. Let's see. So here's a question. How do I get paper and pencils for my kids? So you can request, if you need materials for your child at home, you should ask your teacher first, the person that you probably have the most contact with. And they can probably arrange for you to pick up paper and pencils from the school. There may also be organizations that will distribute school materials. Let's see. Okay, some of the questions are, oh, cons, you've already answered them. So people are asking about where we can get the written materials, for example, the snapshot. Those are in the handbook. You can download it from the website, or you could receive a hard copy. The snapshot is great. It really can help you and your child, if your child can express what they need, and communicate that in a very simple one-page way to your teacher. So teachers have many children oftentimes, and while they could go to the IEP and probably distill out a lot of information about your child, this more personalized information is faster for the teacher to access that information. For example, if your child needs to sit at the front of the classroom when they go back to school, that information is readily there for the teacher to see. Or if your child has certain kinds of sensory needs that are really important to pay attention to, the teacher can know that. Here's another question. Do you have recommendations on how to reduce my son's anxiety during online instruction? When he perceives a request or task to be difficult, his anxiety raises very quickly. So that's a great observation, Mom. So document that when this happens and how often this happens. That's, first of all, very important information for the teacher. But it may be you may need to have communication with the teacher about how she can reduce anxiety by either breaking the task into smaller bits for your child to do so it's not so overwhelming, or other kinds of strategies. But your teacher should have strategies. If your teacher is, or if your son is in an inclusive environment, the learning specialists associated with that classroom could collaborate with your classroom teacher. So it's very important. Another question is, when is the exact date that kids will go back to school? Oh my, I wish I knew that. We all want our children back in school. My understanding is that some of the first children to go back into small groups of children will be children with special needs. So I know that LA County Superintendent reported recently on a webinar that this was going to start phasing in. So we should look for that. But there is no date when schools will reopen at this point. Let's see. Here's another one. My son is not receiving any of the services on his IEP. Who do I talk to? Okay, so documenting that, it's important. It sounds like you have his IEP, you know what's on his IEP, and he's not receiving those services. So first, talk to your school, talk to your teacher, the specialist at the school. And the fact that you're documenting what your child is supposed to receive and they are not receiving is very important. But at the same time, you want to get services. So if your child was to be receiving speech therapy and occupational therapy, they are delivering those in remote fashion. So if your child can access remote, then you should ask for those services. If your child can't access those services remotely, ask the school what they can do about giving you more personalized one-on-one services. The main thing is communicate with your school personnel. How do we take data for the IEP progress on my kiddo's goals? Is it a good idea for parents to even take data during online learning? You want to write down your observations, and so that is data on how your child is responding to the online education. And if you can take data that, in other words, the child is maybe not making progress on those goals, so that then you can talk with your child's teacher. Very important to keep those lines of communication open. Let's see, will there be curriculum on how children and their families can build up their immune systems? Well, that's an interesting one. That's not in our handbook, but there might be, within the health system, there may be people that are talking about different ways to stay healthy during this time, and certainly avoiding COVID-19, but unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that one. Do you want to answer some, Beth, now? I'll give you a chance, maybe. here's this question. My son is in kindergarten and he hasn't been able to finish more than half of his Zoom classes. He loses it and tantrums. We were denied an IEP by LAUSD when we got evaluated a year ago. Can I request a reevaluation, or should I wait for the teacher to see his behavior in person and request herself? All I have is a regional center diagnosis of autism. Beth, do you want to answer that? Or?
Sure. I would echo what Dr. Cassidy has said in terms of writing down what you're observing and being able to have open communication with his teachers about that. Because you were denied an evaluation before doesn't mean that you can't request a reevaluation. And so if that is something that is persistent and happening right now, it will never hurt to communicate with the teacher and to request that. And having a diagnosis from the regional center, you can also talk to them and ask for any data that they're able to share as well.
You might ask the regional center as well about whether or not they have services to help you during this period of time. Okay, so what do you recommend if your child is overwhelmed by the 3 to 5 daily Zoom classes he has to have a day? And this includes provider services. He's in 2nd grade and 3 of the classes are his general ed with the whole class. I understand the social component, but feel he's not really getting anything out of the general ed classes. So again, I think this is really important to talk with the teacher and to say that your child needs a small group, more specialized services. He's not able to access the larger group classes. And there are lots and lots of tutors that are volunteering to work with children. And the school probably has lots of tutors as well. So it may be that just having your child in a small group or by himself in like another room, you know, in a breakout room from the larger class might help to either preview the lesson before it happens or to review the lesson after it happens. So ask the teacher what they can do for you. Sometimes the teachers are not aware of what's going on at home because they have a class of 20 kids. So again, really communicate with your teacher and tell them what you need.
To this as well, this is somewhere where something like a visual schedule might be helpful for him.
Mm-hmm.
You can have pictures of what it looks like when he's in school, and each time he finishes one of those 3 to 5 classes, he gets to check it off or move it, and he can see, okay, I'm done with this one, and now I only have 2 more to go. Sort of like a checklist you might make for yourself when you're working on getting through the day.
Okay. I don't see any more questions right now, and it's 3:30, so I think we thought this would be about 30 minutes, so well, there's one more. Okay, we'll answer this last one. How do you obtain a list of organizations that provide school supplies and a list of those tutors that are available to assist our kiddos? Where can I find in my region? So I don't know where your region is, but there are a lot of tutors. I think I heard on another webinar that there were 500 tutors from UCLA, you know, volunteer students to tutor children. So I think that we'll try to post some information on our website because I don't know the list of organizations off the top of my head, but I think that there should be both. So for both of your requests, we should have a list of some people that you can at least try. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Take a break, enjoy your children. You're getting to spend lots of time with them. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.